This is why it can be so scary to speak your truth, especially if you're leaving high demand religion. There's something I want to talk to you about that a lot of people don't have the language for, but they can feel it. If you've ever left the LDS church or another high demand religion or institution, or even just starting to question it, you might have noticed something. It's not just hard to tell your parents and your friends and your family and community. It can actually feel impossible. And it's not because you don't love them. It's not because you're trying to rebel, and it's not because you need them to agree with you, and it's not because you're wanting them to even leave with you. It's because something in your body says it's not safe to leave. And that's the psychotechnology embedded by the indoctrination. So I want to be really clear about something. For a lot of people, that feeling that isn't safe, that feeling isn't wrong. Because sometimes when you do tell the truth, you actually do lose things. You see, speaking your truth can cause distance, it can cause disappointment, it can cause disruption in your life, especially if you built that life from someone else's map and you're trying to get clear on your own map. You're restructuring everything. And it's going to impact your relationships, your stability, your community, your connection, your reputation, your routine. It even impacts your sense of identity, because every choice that you have made that impacts these areas of your life were made through the lens of indoctrination. And that being said, consider your body isn't being dramatic. It's actually remembering. It's tracking real patterns that say, when I step outside of this, things can fall apart. And that's what makes it so complex. Because now you're not just navigating beliefs, you're actually navigating survival. In high demand religious systems, love and belonging are often tied to alignment and compliance and obedience, and that's why they're control systems. You're safe by believing the right things, by saying the right things, by representing the family the right way, by choosing the right. So when your truth starts to shift and your nervous system doesn't register it, it's not saying, oh, I just see things differently. Oh, okay, no. It's registering it as, I could lose connection. I could disrupt my entire life. I might not belong anymore. And for many people, that's not hypothetical. That's lived. It's true. The risk is real. You were also taught to trust outside authority, prophets, bishops, scriptures over your own inner knowing. So even when something inside of you begins to wake up, there's another voice. It's that religious programming voice that says, oh, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm being deceived? What if I'm one of the elite being led astray in the last days? What if I destroy myself without the guidance of the covenant path and the religion? What if this costs me everything and I regret it? And that's what the religion taught you, that you couldn't survive without it. So now you're holding truth and fear at the same time. And you're growing from the inside. Can't you see that there? You're holding truth and fear at the same time. It expands your infrastructure. And then there's the body. The tightening in your chest, the lump in your throat, the heat on the back of your neck, the urge to stay quiet and keep the peace. That's not weakness. That's your nervous system trying to protect you from something that's has very real evidence for. So what do you do when both things are true? When your truth is real and the risk is real? The truth will set you free, but first it's going to piss you off, and it's going to piss off a lot of other people in your life. So let me walk this space carefully with you. Don't force yourself to override your body. You want to build a whole brand new relationship with it. So instead of telling yourself, I'll be fine, nothing bad's going to happen, I just need to be brave, don't be such a weak scaredy cat. No. Now you need to begin telling the truth to yourself more honestly. And this is what it sounds like. This could cost me something by telling people I'm leaving the church. And I'm still choosing not to abandon myself. That's a very different kind of safety. That's not the safety of guaranteed outcomes. What you're building is the safety of self-trust. It's knowing that if everything falls apart, I can still find my way through. Self-trust instead of trusting in the system. And that's when you're tapping into your real power. That's when you start sourcing your certainty from within rather than from the church. And that's when you're tapping into your renewable, sustainable, divine source from within. And again, you're growing and you're expanding from the inside. And that doesn't happen all at once. It happens in little small moments of radical honesty and letting your voice shake and speaking anyway. And saying one true sentence instead of saying everything all at once. And in learning how to stay grounded within yourself even when things around you are shifting. Because the real shift is this. You were taught that safety comes from agreement, obedience, and compliance, from belonging, and from staying connected at all costs. But what you're learning now is something deeper. You're learning that safety comes from not abandoning yourself, even when it's hard, even when it changes things. Everything, even when it asks you to rebuild something completely brand new. You need to know this part. You're not afraid because you're weak. You're afraid because you understand the cost. They were hoping you would never be brave enough to cross the barrier of fear that was embedded into you with the doctrines. Yet here you are. You're still waking up anyway. And that's not reckless. That's not destroying your family. That's not denying you an audience with the divine. None of that. That's courage. That's bowing at the throne of your own sovereignty. And that kind of courage is what builds a life that's actually yours, that represents your true self, not the minion that they can control anymore. So if you're struggling to navigate this part of your journey, reach out to me directly, or maybe check out my support group on Facebook. It's called Empowered Former LDS. I'll leave the link in the comments below or in the description box, depending on what format you're on.